6:48 coming up just after 7 o'clock. We're talking 15 minutes time. The one, the only, the tiny Darren Pang. He will join us. Looking forward to it. Last two times we've talked to Darren Pang, there was a goalie fight the night before. I could get used to that. I really could. Of course, the referee last night stood in the way and had both goaltenders cool down before they actually dropped the gloves, but I'm not going to point that out this morning.
I don't think they were that hot to begin with.
Well, if Price was in the mix in that scrum, if he turns around and Thomas is flying down, it's a lot different. They stood around for 3 minutes before we let him drop their gloves. I think they cooled down quite a bit. We've got Eric Macramala. He's on the Team 1200. He also has a great sports law blog. You can check it out at www.sportslawblog.ca. He's the legal analyst on the Team 1200. And I guess for the next 5 minutes, he's the legal analyst with us. Eric, how are you?
Hey, guys. Good. Well, I have to admit I'm a little bit confused.
Why?
A little bit confused. Well, I'm getting word today that Alanis Morissette has tweeted pictures of her baby, and this baby's name is Ever.
Ever?
Ever. It's an adverb, you know. Bizarre. I think it kind of makes Flava Flav sound like a normal name.
I thought Apple was a wild name for a child.
That's right, Gwyneth Paltrow's kid.
Yeah, that's right.
Or Rumor.
Problems, huh?
Rumor, isn't that a name of someone's kid?
Yeah, you can take any word now and name a kid after it. It's kind of ridiculous. Eric, why do this? Why are they filing a class action lawsuit? I just don't get it. They were offered, a pretty nice little deal from the NFL. Why would these 400 or hundreds of fans do this?
Well, I actually had a chance a couple of days ago to interview one of these aggrieved fans. And his is a great example. A lot of these fans traveled from very far, invested a lot of money, and when they got to the stadium, one of two things happened. They either had no seats, or the seats they were promised didn't materialize. They ended up with obstructed views and these temporary folding seats. And that's why there's class action. It's kind of divided up into two. There are like two sets of people. The first one I referred to these founders. These founders paid $100,000 in a seat licensing fee, and that money went to help build the stadium. But as part of that contribution, the founders were promised, quote, the best sight lines in the stadium. And when they got there, they had these folding broken chairs with an disrupted view of the field. On top of that, there were 400 fans that showed up with tickets in hand. They were walked to their seats, and then they were told, actually, you know what, your seats aren't available. You have to go stand in the middle or in the corners of the stadium and watch the game standing up, or watch the games on monitors with your back to the field. So a lot of these fans were profoundly disappointed. I mean, you hear stories, guys, about an 82-year-old man who couldn't make it to his seat because he had been moved to the top of the stadium. So he was relegated to watching the game on TV. Another woman was so afraid of heights, she was seen bawling her eyes out and pleading with the hostess, please don't seat me up there with my son and I. And they said, sorry, that's where you're going to sit. So a lot of them sunk a lot of money into travel, sunk a lot of money into hotel, into sandwiches and their tickets. And so they were profoundly disappointed. So that's why this lawsuit materialized.
How far along do you think this thing moves before it's booted out, or does it go all the way?
Well, I don't think it'll be booted out so much as I think it'll be settled. So, a big thing here, guys, is that the NFL knew about these seating issues a week before. The Cowboys knew about the seating issue a week before. And they didn't advise any of the fans that this was potentially going to be a problem. So and they've also admitted that that's the case. So that's going to give these fans some leverage in this lawsuit, and that's why I would expect this case to settle. You're right in that they have been offered, a pretty decent deal, all expenses paid, trip to a Super Bowl of their choice, plus about $2,400 to compensate them for their tickets. A lot's going to depend, guys, on how reasonable or unreasonable the plaintiffs are being in this class action lawsuit.
Can I ask something, Eric? Does this actually happen in Canada?
You mean?
Would this
a game not having a seat?
No, I mean the lawsuit part of it. Would this a class action lawsuit actually happen in Canada? Would the courts allow it to happen in Canada?
It's a good question. In a case like this, where you have a ticket and you are promised a seat, and that ticket, guys, is a contract, and you're promised a seat for a huge event, where it's not unreasonable for people to travel far for that event, for example, the Grey Cup, and there are a lot of aggrieved fans. In Canada, this lawsuit could well materialize. I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think, guys, it's your, McDonald's cup of coffee. in a case like this, the Cowboys and Jones and the NFL knew that there were issues, but they didn't act proactively in the eyes of the plaintiff. So this kind of lawsuit, to me, is not completely unreasonable.
Eric, we really appreciate the time. I wish we had more time to spend with you, but we're right up against the clock. Maybe we'll talk again in the future, all right?
Sounds good.
I was hoping I could get maybe Sue Nielsen for a little bit of cash here. I'll talk to you in the future.
Thanks a lot, Eric.